Namaste, Pranam, Gita Dhyanam. Om Parthaya Pratibodhitam Bhagavata Narayanena Swayam Vyasena Gratitam Purana Munina Madhye Mahabharatam Advaitamritavarshinim Bhagavatim Ashtadashadhyayinim Ambatva-manusandadhami Bhagavad-gite bhavadveshinim. O Bhagavad Gita, with which Lord Narayana himself gave enlightenment to Partha, the ancient sage Vyasa included it in the Mahabharata. O Goddess, showerer of the nectar-like knowledge of non-dualism contained in your 18 chapters, O my affectionate mother, the destroyer of rebirth, I meditate upon thee. Krishna Vandana. Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kansachanuramardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. Son of Vasudeva, the slayer of Kansa and Chanur, extreme delight for Mother Devaki, O Lord Krishna, the supreme teacher of the universe, my salutations to you. Srimad Bhagavad Gita, our reading of the 13th Adhyaya, the Kshetradnya Vibhag Yoga, and Krishna has beautifully explained to us, and he has in fact taught to us how we can understand the great truth about what he has explained to us about the Purusha, Prakriti, how this entire creation has come into effect, and how all these vikara, the modifications in the beings, they take place because of those three gunas of the Prakriti. And Krishna says that one who gains this knowledge, one who really assimilates this teaching of mine of the Purusha, Prakriti and the gunas, howsoever he may have lived his life, she may have lived her life, once that understanding dawns, once that enlightenment comes about the relationship of the Purusha, Prakriti and the Gunas, and how this whole thing has come forth. Once that enlightenment dawns, Sri Krishna says, there is total liberation, absolutely no coming back on this in the cycle of birth and death. And then in the previous shlok that we read, now Sri Krishna doesn't just stop by telling us that having understood, having assimilated, having gained that enlightenment, you can be free from the cycle of birth and death. But Sri Krishna also tells us which are the ways, how you can actually gain that enlightenment. And the 24th shlok that we read last, Sri Krishna has spoken about those three yogas. Sri Krishna spoke that people can have this enlightenment, this knowledge, this understanding by dhyana yoga, the meditation, or by the knowledge, Sankhya yoga, or by adopting my teachings in the karma yoga that I have taught you. Dhyanena atmani pashyanti kechit atmanam atmana. Some people, they realize, they behold this Paramatman, the great self, in their little self, making use of this little self. That is how they meditate upon it. Like a seeker, an aspirant meditating upon the vast sea, vast ocean, and realizing the vastness of that Paramatman. In that, the attempt of meditation, with that tool of meditation, with that path of meditation, the meditative contemplation, they realize the presence of the Paramatman in this Atman, and then they find that unity. They find that I am one with him. They get that ultimate realization, and then they gain this knowledge. Once having got the knowledge of Paramatman, how the Prakriti comes into effect, and everything becomes clear to them. The moment Dhyanena Atmani Pashyanti, when they see this Paramatman inside them, with the help of their own little self, they keep on meditating. Others, anye sankhena yogena. Others will keep on thinking about it. They will study the scriptures, they will study the Upanishads, they will study the Vedas, try to understand what is this thing, what is this ultimate reality, and in this process, they move forward, those seekers, those aspirants, they move forward on this path of knowledge, on this path of Jnana Yoga, on this path of Sankhya Yoga, and they realize the ultimate truth of being one with that Paramatman. So that is another approach Sri Krishna says. Third approach, karma yogena cha apare, and still others. Still others, they can have this realization, they can have this enlightenment if they follow the path of karma yoga that I have told you. Do all the duties in this world that have come to you. Don't hide away, don't run away, don't shy away from the duties that have come up to you. Consider those duties as the duty, the work given to you by the Lord. You are just an instrument. It is the Lord's work that you are doing. And don't ever think about what you are going to get in return if you do that work. That is the gist of the entire Karma Yoga that Sri Krishna has taught us in the Karma Yoga Adhyaya. So, be an instrument in the hands of God, and even while working, while doing our worldly duties, while doing our day-to-day activities, we can get that understanding. What I am doing is the Lord's work. I am just an instrument in His hand, and that will bring in the realization of the seeker's oneness with the Lord. So see, Sri Krishna has already told us the three yogas, the three paths. And although these paths may look diverse, although these paths may look different from one another, Sri Krishna has told us that all these paths, they lead to the same goal. All these paths, through any of the path that you choose, you can have that ultimate realization, that ultimate enlightenment of experiencing the oneness with the Lord, of understanding you are the wave of that ocean, of understanding you are so much part and parcel of this infinite vast space. So these are the three paths. And does the path of gaining that knowledge end with these three? Then no. Sri Krishna says there is one more path. One more path for the people who cannot meditate. One more path for the seekers who cannot follow the path of knowledge. One more path for the seekers who cannot follow the path of karma yoga. And what is that? Sri Krishna is telling, anye tvevamajānantah śrutvānyebhya upāsate tepi cātitarantyeva mrutyum śrutiparāyaNām. Sri Krishna says there is another category of seekers who cannot adopt, who cannot follow these three paths that I have told you. Dhyana, Sankhya Yoga and the Karma Yoga. For those, what happens? Anye, others. Tu, indeed, also. Anye, tu, evam, ajānantah. Those who cannot understand. Thus, those who cannot follow the paths of Dhyana Yoga, Sankhya Yoga, Karma Yoga. What happens to that? śrutvānyebhya upāsate. Having heard about this whole thing, the Paramatman, the Jivatman, the Prakriti, they have just heard it. They have not studied, they have not meditated, nor they are performing their duties as prescribed in the Karma Yoga, but they have heard about all these things from some seers. They have heard about all these things from those who have already experienced. śrutvānyebhya upāsate, and then they get into the mode of worship. Upāsate. They get into the mode of bhakti. That is how Sri Krishna says there is this fourth category who don't know, who can't realize, who can't meditate, who can't follow the path of knowledge, who can't follow the path of Karma Yoga. They listen to everything that the seers have experienced. They understand. Then they try to worship. They develop intense devotion. They develop intense faith in the words of the seers, in the words of the saints, in the words of the incarnations, in the following the lives of incarnations. They adopt themselves. Oh, if someone has devoted himself or herself to the Lord, let me also do it. If someone has totally surrendered himself or herself at the holy feet of the Divine Mother, I will also do it. Why not? Because that he or she has experienced the ultimate truth. Following that path, let me try. Let me be the humble child of my mother. Let me be the humble servant of the Master. Te api cātitarantyeva mrutyum śrutiparāyaNām. They too go beyond death. And Sri Krishna says, even this fourth category of people who adopt, who follow the path of bhakti, who follow the path of worship, just by listening to what the seekers, other seers have seen, just by listening to, just by hearing to what other saints, the incarnations, they have experienced, they have had their realization, even following that path, by developing a bhakti, they can go beyond death, they can conquer death. Mrutyum śrutiparāyaNām, by following what they have heard. So that is the fourth way that Sri Krishna has told. This is how you can reach, you can gain that ultimate enlightenment. You either meditate or you either study, follow the path of Jnana Yoga, or you do your work. You do your work selflessly, and you will get into that form, you will get to that enlightenment. You will get that knowledge, ultimate knowledge of your being oneness with the ultimate Lord. So this is Sri Krishna's teaching in the 25th Shloka. Still others not knowing thus, not knowing the paths of Dhyana Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Karma Yoga, worship as they have heard from others. They too go beyond death. They too escape the cycle of birth and death by their devotion to what they have heard. They get totally devoted to the words of the saints, to the words of the great souls, to the words of seers, to words of those who have had that enlightenment and realization, and they totally surrender themselves to the ultimate Lord. Now, among the four yogas, Bhakti Yoga is the easiest. You did not meditate. You did not worry about, oh, I cannot meditate. Forget it. You cannot worry about, oh, I am illiterate. I cannot study the scriptures. I cannot study the Upanishads. I cannot study the Vedas. I don't understand what is written there. It doesn't matter. If you can understand, you can follow, fine. Go ahead. Follow that path. But if not, don't get disheartened. If you are not able to follow even the path of Karma Yoga, Sri Krishna says, doesn't matter. Just believe in the words of the seers. Believe in what you have heard from those who have had the enlightenment, and develop the devotion, develop the bhakti. Surrender yourself at the holy feet of the Lord, at the holy feet of the Divine Mother, and through that also you will escape the cycle of birth and death. Therefore, Sri Krishna says, for that matter, Bhakti Yoga seems to be simplest, but what happens in reality, even that is not so easy. In reality, you have to surrender, you have to just give up everything. Give your I, give your little self, and only then you can develop the true bhakti. Once that little self is gone, what remains? Once the little self is gone, we are so near to that ultimate self. Just what we need to do is give up just forget, just drop down that little self that we are carrying with us as our ego. Scriptural knowledge and keen discrimination are not necessarily auxiliaries to this absorbing path. When one starts walking the path of bhakti, he need not be extremely intelligent to understand the intricacies of the Sankhya Yoga. He need not be so very deep with strong mindset, with strong intellect to meditate upon that ultimate truth. He need not be so workaholic for that matter, selflessly workaholic, to do everything for the Lord's sake. He need not do any of those things, but he should develop that ability to surrender. He should develop that attitude of Sharanagati, be a true bhakta. So scriptural knowledge, discrimination, the selfless working is not mandatory to follow this path. These are also the paths suited to those temperaments, to those personalities. Gopis of Vrindavan were uneducated and devoid of intellectual equipment. Gopis of Vrindavan, the monkey army of Sri Rama, they didn't have that great intellectual the ability for that matter. All they knew was, the gopis, they knew Krishna is my own. I don't know anything else but Krishna. Those monkey army, they didn't know anything else in this world, but we only know Rama. Ram is our ideal, Ram is our whole and soul, Ram is our all in all. That's all they knew. And even with that devotion, the gopis, they reached the ultimate enlightenment. Still, through pure devotion, they made the Lord of the universe their own. Oh, my Krishna, how they used to feed him, how they used to play with him, how they used to dance with him. For them, they had merged their individuality in that great Lord. They didn't have any individuality of their own. All they had done was total Sharanagati. They knew only one thing. They knew that Krishna is mine. That's it. They used to see Krishna everywhere. But if learning and wisdom can be properly utilized, and if pure devotion is also side by side developed, progress in spirituality becomes easier still. Now, ultimately what happens? When aspirants, seekers, they start walking this path, towards the end of the path, then they realize all these paths, they come to the same end. All these paths, all the teachings of this path, they get interconnected. Then a bhakta becomes jnani, then a jnani becomes a bhakta. Like the great Jnani Shankaracharya, a profound Advaitist. Still see the kind of hymns and stotras that Shankaracharya has written for all the gods and goddesses. Which Advaitist, which follower and the follower of Muniism for that matter, monistic system, who will have that inclination to write so many stotras for all those different gods and goddesses. So the jnani also becomes a bhakta, bhakta also becomes a jnani. And then they realize all this is intermingled. I have taken this path, but again I have got that ultimate knowledge. The jnani feels I have followed the path of jnana, but at the end I have developed intense bhakti in my heart for the Lord, for that ultimate truth. So this is what happens. Ultimately, all these paths, they intermingle and take the aspirant, take the seeker to the ultimate goal. Let us see what Sri Ramakrishna has to say on this. Devotion to the Lord may be compared to a ferocious tiger. Sri Ramakrishna says, utter devotion, deep devotion, the para bhakti is like a ferocious tiger. As the latter destroys the cattle, the former destroys lust, greed, and such enemies of man. As the tiger devours all the animals, which the moment the tiger feels hungry, he will just attack an animal, kill it, and finish it off. Sri Ramakrishna says that the deep devotion is just like the tiger devours his prey. The devotion will devour all the unwanted characteristics in the human being. The devotion will destroy the greed, lust, and such enemies in man. Because there is no once a devotion, the spark of devotion gets ignited, there is no lust, there is no greed, there is no unwanted feeling for anything in this world. There is all the feelings, all the devotee wants is the lotus feet of the Lord. If bhakti comes up but once, there is no more fear of being disturbed by lust and anger, which will be all exterminated from the mind. A true bhakti, a shuddha bhakti, once it sparks, once the spark gets generated, there is no more of these the passions that ruin the intellect of the human being, that ruin the human being for that matter. Kama, krodha, lobha, moha, mada, matsara. All these are wiped away. All these are just destroyed in a flash. The moment the spark of bhakti gets ignited. The gopis of Vrindavan were free from these taints because of their extraordinary love of boy Krishna. The moment the spark of bhakti gets ignited, that's it. There are no more, six tents that are bringing us down, that are pulling down the beings on their spiritual path. No lust, no greed, no anger, no attraction for that matter. Kama, krodha, lobha, moha, mada, matsara. No jealousy, no anger, nothing of that sort. It is just a pure devotion. And with that single pointed devotion, the devotee, the aspirant, the seeker crosses over the cycle of life and death. And that's what Sri Krishna says, that tepi cātitarantyeva mrutyum śrutiparāyaNām. Ultimately, they also win over the death. They also get over the death, go beyond death. There is no more life and death. Like the three aspirants of the dhyana yoga, jnana yoga, karma yoga, even the aspirants, even the seekers following the path of bhakti yoga, they also get onto the path of liberation. So see, Sri Krishna, so simply he has told us that follow these paths. I have told you again and again and again about these four paths. With this path, you can assimilate the knowledge that I have shared with you in this Kshetra, Kshetradnya, Vibhag yoga, about the Purusha, about the Prakriti of the Gunas, how these Gunas, they bring out modifications in these beings, all the beings in this creation. So once you understand everything, you are out of that cycle of birth and death. And he has shown us these four wonderful paths. So that is the greatness of Sri Krishna, of even telling us the ways to win over, even telling us the ways to get out of this cycle of birth and death. Let us follow at least one of it. If not the dhyana, if not the jnana, if not the karma, at least the bhakti yoga, which according to Sri Ramakrishna is the best suited path for this Kali Yuga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Sri Krishna Arpanamastu. Jai Sri Ramakrishna. Jai Thakur. Jai Ma. Jai Swamiji.